made us kings and priests unto God and his Father. To him be glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen.
And then tell them to go climb a mountain.
Well, if you just look at one simple little area in the Bible, Second Chronicles chapter 20, about verse 31, you see verse 1 all the way through up to about verse 12 or 15. I don't have it right in front of me, but if you read that, you'll find out that 5 nations came up against Jehoshaphat. It says he set his heart, he feared, and he set his heart to seek the Lord. And he declared a fast, and they fasted and prayed and declared everyone fast. And then God sent his prophet and said, you don't need to fight in this battle, but stand still and see the salvation of God with you, right? Well, then they fasted, and then the Lord gave them the instructions. Tomorrow morning, go out with your army to meet them, but send the singers out between the 2 armies. And when they went and obeyed and did this, and the singers went out there, and it says, and they began to worship and to praise the beauty of holiness. The Lord set ambushments against those 5 nations and utterly destroyed them. All right, now that is a glorious victory, but that chapter has a key to what you're saying. The saddest thing is you read on in that chapter to about verse 31, where it talks about all of the wealth of Jehoshaphat and his glorious reign, this grandson, great-grandson of David, his glorious reign. And then it says, however, the high places were not yet come down. This is King James translation.
Right.
For the people had not yet prepared their hearts unto the God of their fathers. That is one of the saddest statements of the Old Testament, in my opinion. Because then if you go on to chapter 21, Jehoshaphat dies, and what happens? The mother, the crown mother of the next one that raises up to be king, kills all the 70 of the princes. Jehoshaphat's family wipes out the royal seed to rule and reign. Now that tells you how powerful the high places are. And so preparing your heart before the God of your fathers is so important. What does that mean? Just staying in your house? Some people say, well, all right, you can get a map and you can take and find Hibachi Island there on the map, and you can put your finger on it and you can pray, and then that's spiritual mapping. Absolutely, you can do that, and I'm not against it. But in prayer walking, Jesus said, go you into all the world, right? And if you just look up the word walk in your concordance to see how many times the word walk is expressed, it will amaze me. In my little Bible that I brought with me, that's in my briefcase, it has a page and a half references of just the word walk. Now think about that. And if you walk before the Lord, walk in the light of the Lord, walk in his word, you know what I mean? All of these. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Abraham walked with God, and God said, I'll give you every place the soles of your feet tread upon. I'll give it to you. And so here we are looking at the importance of walking. And God taught me at 18 years old the value of walking. Walking means when you set foot in it, you are literally fulfilling the covenant of Abraham that the soles of your feet walk upon. And in Ephesians chapter 6, what are we, our feet covered with?
Shod with the preparation of the gospel.
The good news of the preparation of God. All right, of the gospel. And so, good news of peace. And so where Jesus said, blessed are the peacemakers, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And so walking and praying is a vital part. And it's part of Abraham's covenant that is so important. And we don't really seem to realize it as much. The other area of walking and praying that's so important is in Hebrews 5, verse 14, Paul is talking about the highest form of Melchizedek, a priesthood known to man. He introduces the Melchizedek of priesthood, of which he says in verse 5, Jesus is a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. And he goes on teaching about it, and then he talks in verse 12 how, Hebrews 5, how though he were the Son of God, yet he learned obedience by the things which he suffered. And then Paul seemingly just shifts the whole subject, and he says, I have many things to say because you're too tired and all this, but he says, at a time when you need to be teachers, you have need of one to teach you. And he says, so therefore you're still on the milk and not the meat. What's that got to do with priesthood? In 1 Peter, we're told we are a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that we should bring forth sacrifices to the Lord continuously. And so if we are a priesthood, and what are we doing as priests? What were they doing? Study the Old Testament, you'll see what they did. They offered up sacrifices for sins. They offered up sacrifices of thanksgiving and praise. And they also inquired of the Lord for the nation and provided a sacrifice for the sins of the nation once a year. And so priesthood is a vital part, and in Deuteronomy 21 it says when there's one found murdered or died and they don't know who did it, it goes down and gives the list of things of the investigation of the government and all that, and then it states in about verse 5, and by the word of the priest will every controversy and every issue be settled. So priesthood is a vital finality to innocent blood, to bloodshed. Okay?
Gotcha.
And so if we are the priests of the living God, then we must offer up sacrifices for sins. And that's what they did in Deuteronomy 21. Right. To break the curse off of the land of innocent blood. And so, dating back to Habu Island, Habachi Island, there had to have been, I thought, human sacrifices on that island for those deadly serpents to take it over, rule and reign. Because wherever death rules and reigns, there has been human sacrifice and innocent bloodshed. And so that's my thinking, that's my teaching. It's quite thorough, and we don't have time to go into the depth of that. But to understand that is to bring you to the understanding of your authority.
And that's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line. All the way back to Genesis 1, verse 26 and 28. And God said, let us make man in our own likeness and in our own image, and let them have dominion. And he names everything to the very creeping, crawling things of the earth. And then verse 28, he repeats it. And so there's our dominion. Well, then we get into chapter 3 of Genesis 1, and what happens? The beast. Well, in verse 26 and 28, we're given dominion over the beast. Well, here's the beast tempting Eve, and Adam and Eve fall to the beast. Think about it.
They could have had their authority over it, but they yielded to it.
They yielded their authority. They gave up by reasoning with the enemy. You cannot reason with the enemy.
Amen. That is such an incredibly important point.
There's no negotiation with the enemy.